Welcome, everyone. I'm Pat Mycone, president of the Republican Club of Laguna Woods, and I'm thrilled to be here today with my colleague and friend, Ro Kendall, who's vice president of programs for Republican Club. And we're here with our guest, our special guest, and Ro will be introducing him in a moment. I want to remind you that our goal of this program, this show, Light on America, is to bring you truth and facts that you may not be seeing, hearing, or listening to in mainstream media news channels. And we bring these truths to dispel misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation to all the surrounding and key issues of the day. So without further ado, we'll hear from Ro and introduce our guest today.
Thank you, Pat. Our topic today is very interesting, and we're going to be talking about taking back our border. And we have a first-hand witness in Joe Camera. He's been there. He's bringing back first-hand information and his observations. And he's going to talk about the convoy that went from one part of the border to the other. So it's very interesting that this was happening. And Joe, he was born in Trenton, New Jersey, so he's a little ways from home. But he then moved to Florida to attend college on an ROTC scholarship. So then he graduated from the Florida Institute of Technology with a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering. He then went on to proudly serve our country in the Navy for 30 years. And he was with a variety of commands and missions. And then he moved to Laguna Woods in 2014 to be closer to his parents. And he did that on his last day after retiring from his assignment at Vandenberg Air Force Base, which was a very interesting assignment that he'll share with us a little bit. He's currently president of the Astronomy Club. And last year he made 2 presentations, one at the Tea Party Club on the topics of false flag operations and 3 steps to restore liberty in America. So with that, I'd like to introduce Joe Camera. Thank you.
Ro, thank you. And Pat, thank you for doing what you're doing. And we're lucky to be in Laguna Woods here with this medium that we can utilize for helping our neighbors share the truth.
Yes.
As you mentioned, I feel really fortunate. I had 30 years in the Navy with a lot of interesting experience and challenges and working on different platforms. But for the purpose of this meeting, if I can share one important thing, is the decision-making process itself. That fundamentally, to have the right course of action, you need fact-based information as the input, and you need as much of that that's relevant as you can. So for example of that, if I come up on watch on the bridge and engineering tells me a boiler's down, that could degrade 50% of the ship's capability. We might need to call the admiral, wake up the captain, notify people. But then, although first that's insufficient information, if you check with the department heads, you may find out that it's the electricians are doing routine maintenance and they're verifying equipment, and that it'll be back up in 30 minutes. So the person that reported that one little piece of data to you didn't have the full picture of what was actually going on. So, and like a lot of things, whether it's a personal relationship or your family or an organization trying to accomplish something, that decision-making process is critical, again, with the input of having good data, not phony data. If you're having misinformation or even malinformation in the sense of intentionally inaccurate, it's almost guaranteed you're going to make a very poor outcome. And our nation, arguably, is very vulnerable to that when there's a marching order of one narrative on something and we're expected to act and not question it. That's a big risk. So I think if we can share with our loved neighbors that we need to all maybe personally become better at that, and as a nation and a city and even in Laguna Woods, commit to collaborate more and be willing to listen to somebody with a different perspective on things, and it can be invaluable to the point of saving lives, of course. So with that, also, I've been in Laguna Woods 9 years and feel very fortunate with those presentations that you mentioned, because those are a couple big things that, it's, in summary, it's very challenging times and there's some very serious danger. But I think if we correct our organizational structure, we can have really beautiful days ahead if we just kind of address some of these core issues, of which the border is one of them. So with that, to start, it was the beginning in January when Alex Jones is how I found out about this event that was happening. Alex, I give a lot of credit to related to 9/11, that my personal experience of being in the military for so long, I watched a movie off of Netflix called Loose Change 9/11, and it gave me factual information, comprehensive, and things that I never saw before, to make me believe that 9/11 in fact was a staged event. And it turns out he produced that. And since then, he's been credited with predicting 9/11 in advance, and even the COVID pandemic, he predicted that there would be a lockdown, you can't go out, you have to get the shots. The whole scenario, if people are interested in the truth, I think it's still available. It was on YouTube. Event 201, it's called. Have you heard of that, Rob?
No, I haven't.
I think everybody should see that. It's where the CIA, the FBI, Johns Hopkins University, CNN, Fox News, international partners practiced and rehearsed the whole COVID experience of this mysterious thing from a wet market. And then, but that narrative gradually deteriorated to more factual evidence. We still don't have the full story on it, but that's the kind of issues that we're dealing with.
We're
and
still
then,
seeking the truth on that.
Yes, and on the right side of the screen, if you can see it, that's Michael Yan, a retired Green Beret, who's been down to the Darien Gap and in El Salvador, Ecuador, all around to assess and understand what we're really dealing with. And regarding the border, maybe at this point I can share an analogy of, we all have these beautiful condos, but say you have a leak in the ceiling, and so there's water up there, we have to address it. That's analogous to the border. But the real problem to get to the root of what's happening is you need a plumber to go down and turn the valve and shut the water off up here. So you don't want to tear the drywall and replace it, and then tear the drywall and replace it, and they're still coming, and they're still coming, and it's still coming out, and which is what we've done at the border for the past 3 years.
It's a great analogy.
But he's validated and has documented evidence. I don't think we have time to get into the details, but that this is a UN-funded, U.S. State Department, American taxpayer-funded operation moving millions of people around the world. And that doesn't happen easily. Most countries could never pull that off. You need Pentagon resources and huge resources to do a logistic operation like this that's happening right before our eyes. But if we shut the money supply off at the UN and the State Department, the whole operation comes to a stop. And that's what we should be doing, not fighting these personal individuals that have been led to come to this promised land, but we need to shut that valve off, is the main takeaway, I'd say. So I went down there, I heard about it, I learned a little bit from some other resources. I didn't really know what to expect, but it was on a Saturday, I didn't have any other commitments. So it's a 2-hour drive down there. I drove down to the border, and we were actually in a public park area, and there were, I think, about 300 people. If you can see the image on the left, we were actually right at the border there, but there was no activity of actually crossing. This was a program of information sharing to share the common concern about what's happening at the border. Although at that time there was no immediate operation going on there, but it was very nice, and it was a day, 2 hours down, about a 3-hour program, and then I came back as the convoy. It was actually the staging area for the convoy to head to Yuma, Arizona, and then over to Texas. Next slide, please.
And Joe, so tell us a little bit more about that convoy, about where it ended, and a few more people involved.
Yeah, I think there were about 300 people at the event, and then so probably 150 to 200 vehicles got underway heading for Arizona.
Wow.
And then 2 parking lots were filled on both sides, and just for understanding how it went down as well, there was no opposition to the event. Well, it felt safe the whole time. It was all positive. People dressed like Pat, red, white, and blue, and God bless America, and we need to save our country. Yes, patriots that we've enjoyed a lot of blessings, and but it's at risk to the next generation. Ronald Reagan said, you know, we're only one generation away from losing this.
Yes.
And so they're serious concern. And but that convoy left from the West Coast here to rendezvous with a convoy from the East Coast, and then go to Eagle Pass in Texas, I think was the final rallying point. That was the next day afterward.
Wow, what an accomplishment.
So a summary of the program, Kim, you actually knew the host and
Kim Yater,
coordinator,
yes.
or you do know her and collaborate with her. She did a great job, and there may be a picture of her, but these are a summary of three of the speakers. Scotty Sachs on the left, I never heard of the man before, but he was in the Hollywood show business for 40 years. And one item that he shared with us was that he represented Johnny Cash, and he wanted Johnny to come meet the executives in Hollywood to get a better contract. And Johnny wouldn't go meet with them. And so he approached June Carter and said, can you talk to Johnny and get him to come? And she immediately said, there's no chance of that, that he feels a negative energy with these individuals that are running Hollywood, and he won't be in the same room as them. So that was pretty profound, and I think that was in the late 80s when that happened, before a lot of us started realizing there's some nefarious activity going on.
Yes.
And then the gentleman in the middle, Matt Baker, he's very animated, as you can kind of tell from the picture, but he spoke at a school board in Texas about the curriculum of pre-puberty individuals and what they were sharing with children in first and second grade on a sexual content basis, and expressed concern of that. And his style, he has long white dreadlocks, if you can see it there, and very vocal.
Oh, yes,
and that went viral. And then he's been on a number of shows on alternative media, kind of a celebrity on the internet.
Yeah.
And then the man on the right is Joe Kent, who's actually running for Congress up in Washington, and he spoke as well about the enemy is inside the gates, that this problem isn't at the border, it's that we're funding the UN and NGOs, non-government organizations, with large sums of money to actually run the logistics of making this happen. So it was refreshing to hear somebody willing to speak the truth and motivated to get into a position of influence. And I think we should be supporting individuals like that.
Yes, well, I think we can play that video right now.
Behind us at this border crossing point, it makes its way up the I-5 corridor, and it is killing my friends, it's killing our neighbors. And my Democrat opponent says with a straight face that no one loses any sleep at night over the open southern border. I beg to differ, because I speak with people just like the folks we heard from here who lost their children, who lost their loved ones from this fentanyl that is poisoning our communities. And it is an absolute atrocity. Uh-oh. Get the flag.
Joe Kent.
There we go. We're good now. I'll just hang on to this. How about that?
Yeah!
That's why we're all out here. So I get asked all the time, hey, is it just incompetence? Why would the Democrats do this? Don't they know the border is wide open? This is nothing short of an unconventional warfare operation that is being waged against the people. I spent 20 years in the Army as a Green Beret, fought overseas. This is unconventional warfare. The Democrats have one goal, and our enemy has a goal as well. The Democrats want to pump as many human beings into this country as they possibly can. They don't care who they are or where they're from. They want to bring them into the country, put them into major urban areas so they can use them during the census to count heads, and therefore they'll be able to get more legislative seats at the state level, the county levels, and then all the way up into the U.S. House of Representatives. And then they're going to get these people ballots, either legally or illegally. We're an all mail-out state in Washington state. So this is the Democrats' diabolical power play. They don't care about the fentanyl. However, our enemy, the Chinese Communist Party, they do. They are running the Opium Wars 2.0 against the United States of America. They're sending the ingredients for fentanyl to the Mexican drug cartels. The cartels are pumping it into our country, and we've lost, we estimate, 118,000 Americans of our fellow countrymen who have been assassinated by fentanyl. Just think, after 9/11, we lost roughly about 3,000 Americans on one day. We went to war for 20 plus years because of that day. We've lost 118,000 of our countrymen, and our government is not just complicit. They're not just sort of kind of part of it. They are facilitating the entire thing. Our taxpayer dollars are going to funnel these people and the fentanyl into the United States of America, whether it's funding from the U.S. aid or our funding that goes to the UN. We are funding this lock, stock, and barrel, and Congress needs to shut this down. Congress should not be approving one more penny to fund the government until the border is shut down. So you've got to reach out, talk to your representatives, talk to your senators, tell them no more money for anything until they do the bare minimum, which is actually defend our country. All of us should be up in arms right now that we lost 3 brave Americans defending the border of Syria, Jordan, and Iraq while we have an invasion on our own southern border. We can all change this come November. All this enthusiasm, all this passion that we all have right now, we need to get out there and do the one thing the Democrats fear the most. What does Joe Biden fear the most? He fears you. Get out there, register fellow patriots to vote, make sure people have a plan to vote, and make sure they vote. And come November, let's take our country back. Thank you guys very much. God bless. God bless America.
So a kind of a takeaway as far as going down there, it was one day in my personal time, but I definitely feel it was worth it because each of us only have one voice. But when you have that amplified with others, it becomes powerful. And then just to know that there's other people that share your concern, it's therapeutic in a sense.
And it emboldens us, doesn't it?
Yes, for us and to encourage others to speak out. There were about 20 people with those T-shirts, "Fake media is the virus." And we won't have time to go into all the details of that, but we were sold a lot of messaging that people have realized our media may be more propaganda script reading than actually trying to search for the truth and share that with us. And I totally believe that of mainstream media for years now. And that's, unless we fix that, we'll never be healthy. So that's part of the solution. And it's nice that so many other people are aware of that.
Yes.
And so as far as the effort, this is a convoy, a trucker convoy. There's another one that's addressing some other issues. The Canadians, if people remember, there was the Canadian convoy.
Yes.
And it was only 2 years ago that people in Laguna Woods, on the right, if you can see, Catherine Robbins,
here.
and several other beautiful neighbors in Laguna Woods Village were very concerned when the message was that you have to get the injections of whatever we say, or you're a dangerous person, you don't love your family, you're putting people at risk, and all this powerful messaging that they got together and said, I'm not comfortable with this. And they were telling us we can't even come to our own clubhouse unless you get the right injections and show your paperwork. I mean, that if you think of America possibly living under that order of tyranny, that we were in a very precarious position 2 years ago, and powerful forces were pushing that on us. And it was a truck convoy. Again, you can't measure quantitatively with hard numbers how much influence it had, but there was a national convoy that went across the country that Ruth and I drove up to Adelante near Barstow to attend the kickoff rally of that event as well. And they drove across the country, and that was about February of 2022. And within 60 days, that whole mandate just kind of disappeared and fell off the map. And now a lot of people have, I believe, feel that the risk of taking these further boosters is more downside than upside. And I think the uptake is, I think it was about 70 to 80% initially, because you want to trust your government. And we believe that it's an organization of people that want to help us and keep us safe. But I think enough bells and alarms have gone off that now it's about 5% of people willing to take this injection, which is made overseas. We don't know what's in it, and you can't sue them if it harms you or your family. And there's a lot of evidence that it's harmed us and our families.
Yes, the truth is coming out about that.
Yes.
But back on the border activity, so that we can be very powerful, and the voice of the people can still resonate and make a positive change is the message. So again, with time, we are in a precarious position of, we estimate millions of people have been brought in and just released all over the country. And, you know, we're seeing violence and tragic loss of life.
Yes.
The police were attacked in New York City. And it's a very broad challenge that we're under right now. So it definitely needs to be addressed. And from domestic terrorism to other activities, this force of people, and I have nothing against the people that came here. They've been told you'll have a better life, probably told you'll have the American dream, and
Right.
your family will live better and safer if you come with us. And these NGOs are moving these migrants up by the millions, but they have no deep root understanding of our founding fathers and our Constitution and liberty.
Yes.
So they're more vulnerable to be the contact tracers or the enforcers of things that are serving someone else's interests rather than protecting our liberty and freedom as citizens
Right.
of America.
Yes.
So this slide I put together, and I use this in the how we need to solve this. Again, is really, and I've served to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I see more of a threat with domestic infiltration than foreign risk of invasion. And the wisdom of our founding fathers to have an unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the purpose of government is to protect those rights, where now we have a government that seems to be stripping those away from us by the day. And they understood, and even medicinally and health-wise, when you feel safe and loved and protected, your biology is different, your human strength, your life force is strengthened. It's a beautiful thing. We live in Laguna Woods. We're spoiled
Yes.
with it, to hear live music
fortunate.
and enjoy life together or have a beautiful meal at the 19. I mean, it would be beautiful, and it's achievable. Everybody could be living like we're living. Yet so many, you look at the pictures of downtown urban areas and what's happening there, there's people that want us in a fear and a panic so they can gain more power. Don't ask questions, do what we say. They want to herd us in a certain direction. So you pay the taxes and don't ask questions. Well, the good news is there's not very many of those people. And there's a whole lot of us.
Yes.
So we can, this graph, happiness and liberty in the upper right quadrant.
I like that.
That's the blessing of Laguna Woods, and we should share that with all of our nation and the whole world for that matter. Respect everyone's borders and boundaries.
Yes. Yes.
And we can get there. So, and the struggle will go on. It'll never be 100%. But actually, I think the forces are moving in that upper right-hand direction. And we're being challenged right now, but it's solvable, and I'm sure we're going to get there.
And we're seeing it all over the world. In Brazil, Argentina.
And the uprising to the authority in France with the
Yes.
farmers,
Yes.
and in Belgium and in the Netherlands. And they don't want us to realize it's happening everywhere. You don't see it on mainstream news because they don't want
Right.
us connected.
But it's very encouraging.
Yeah, and we should all thank God each morning for the internet. That's allowed us to share information and circumvent the mainstream, talking
Propaganda.
points. So,
Yeah,
I
totally
think
agree.
it's a great time to be alive. We have so many
Yes.
blessings, but we need to sort this issue out.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is an illustration, if I can spend a minute on this, that if you can look at this image, and this is to be tolerant of others. When you talk to somebody, it can be frustrating when they don't see things the way that I see things or you see things, but it's not always nefarious. We all have taken a different journey through life.
Yes.
And have looked at things from a different perspective. So this illustrates that if you have a cylinder, so if somebody's only been allowed to view it from one end, they're going to tell you that's a circular sphere. And if they only looked at it from the side, they would be absolutely sure and want to tell you that's a square right there. And if you don't see a square, something's wrong with you. And we can become hostile and divided, and we're the squares and they're the circles, or we're the Democrats and they're the Republicans, or we're the Crips and they're the Bloods. And there's people that like us divided like that. But in reality, it's even a third thing. It's a cylinder. And if we're willing to look at it from different perspectives and do that collaborative effort, things can be really moving in the right direction for all of us. So
Beautifully said, Joe.
That's really good, yeah. Truth will be revealed
yes,
if we're open to it.
and free the censorship, that we need to oppose that. And anyone that says no, you're not allowed to voice your opinion. this country, our founding fathers understood that.
That's right.
That's why the First Amendment is first, freedom
Yes.
of
It is.
speech.
We cannot have
And-
democracy without the First Amendment. We cannot have a republic without the First Amendment.
Right, because you need to have an informed citizenry.
Yep.
So if they're not showing us the whole picture and the curtain's closed and you can only believe what they tell you, we really need to oppose that on every
Yes.
front. And,
Yes.
so thanks again for what both of you are doing.
We're getting there. Yes,
Yes,
thank you,
because
Joe.
it takes everybody, and we can only do so much, but each of us push for that upper right-hand quadrant, and we can overcome anything. And we've overcome a lot of challenges, of course, beyond what we're dealing with right now.
We
So.
sure have, and this year is in the next 8 months, we have 8 months now to reach out and hopefully get the information to everyone so that they see what is really at stake. Everything is at stake. And it's going to depend on getting policies, getting a party in there, we believe our Republican Party, who's going to create the policies that will help bring back all the things you talked about, Joe, correct and bring all that back to what we had, a prosperous, free America in the world.
I see this as a very exciting time to be alive. There's so much change that's coming, that we're awake, that we're striving to a new world that is going to be beautiful. But we're at that point, and we have to push forward through this to get there.
Yes. I want to talk about what I consider our triumvirate of patriots in Laguna Woods. We have our Republican Party, we have Liberty Matters Club, and we have the Tea Party. So between the three of us, we are three powerful groups that can influence our neighbors and our city, our state. And we need everyone to participate.
Yes.
And we're going to ask all of you in the next year to do your part. Each of us, God gives each of us special gifts and talents, and when we're using them, we will enjoy what we're doing. So we'll be doing that in the future year. So thank you so much.
Very exciting.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I think we would love to have your comments and questions. Please email us at
Light on America.
Ro, you do it.
LW.
Light on America, LW@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joe, for coming.
Thank you both. Thanks
You
for
did
your
a
time.
fabulous job.
Thank you.
God bless.